Wisdom of a Lifetime, Book 1. Mastering Reality, A Technologist's Journey Through Quantum Physics, Subconscious Reprogramming, and Reality Transurfing by Pascal Menezes. Prologue, The Paradox of the Code and the Spirit. Welcome. Take a deep, slow breath, settle into a comfortable position, and allow your mind to completely unhook from the frantic demands of the external world. What you are holding in your hands and what you are about to experience through this audio journey is Book 1 of a multi-volume masterwork. Before we dive into the deep architecture of personal transformation and reality engineering, it is vital to establish a clear roadmap. The specific directive of Book 1 is to decode the physical matrix we live in. Mastering physical reality on this earthly plane requires a clean, rigorous, and functional understanding of the physics governing how this material universe operates and exactly how human consciousness is designed to relate to it. In Book 2, we will cross the event horizon into the nonlinear, non-material reality of the spiritual dimension, exploring the massive, transformative, high-frequency fields of unconditional love, divine kindness, absolute courage, loving relationships, and profound gratitude. I want to be entirely clear from the beginning. Nothing in this book is designed to diminish your personal spiritual beliefs. What modern frontier physics and quantum mechanics reveal is simply that our physical, four-dimensional reality is governed by an invisible quantum information field, a field ultimately powered by a greater intelligence. Understanding the science of the physical universe does not strip the mystery away from existence. It deepens our awe for the master architecture behind it. I speak to this not as a mystic, but as an engineer. For over 4 decades, I have walked through 2 entirely different worlds, leading a profound, demanding double life that very few people in my professional circles fully understand. In the bright, unforgiving, hyper-rational light of the global technology sector, I am known as a chief technology officer, architect, and serial startup entrepreneur. My daily professional existence is consumed by the absolute crystalline logic of AI, cloud-scale digital architectures, software-defined networks, real-time media transport systems, and intelligent edge compute networks. Prior to my current executive role, I spent close to 10 full years at Microsoft, where I was privileged to lead major engineering programs for Skype for Business, now Teams, real-time media over high-speed wireless systems, and global infrastructure engineering. Over the course of my career, I have contributed to 5 technology startups with multiple successful corporate exits, been awarded over 30 patents, received global industry thought leadership awards, and authored foundational international engineering standards. In that fast-paced corporate arena, I regularly step onto international conference stages, completely unscripted to present complex technical paradigms to thousands of executive leaders. It is a world built upon strict telemetry, hard empirical data, and unyielding logical execution. There is zero space for ambiguity, wishful thinking, or unproven theories. Yet beneath the surface of my formal engineering career lies a silent, parallel obsession, a decades-long personal immersion into the deep oceans of human consciousness, neuro-linguistic programming, subconscious software reprogramming, cell biology, and the structural implications of quantum mechanics. For generations, traditional paradigms treated these 2 domains as fundamental enemies. But as my technology career accelerated alongside my intense internal experimentation, I discovered a staggering, revolutionary truth. They are not separate fields at all. The exact same structural frameworks, algorithmic feedback loops, and protocol layers that govern cutting-edge automated information matrices and distributed cloud networks are perfectly reflected in how human consciousness interacts with the quantum field. Reality is not a solid, immovable stone block that we are forced to push against with brute physical effort. Reality is an intelligent, reactive, fluid information field that bends directly to the frequency, focus, and structural code of who we are. Let this core truth lock into your mind right now. Reality is not an independent environment happening to you. It is a real-time quantum mirror faithfully reflecting the total integrated sum of your internal software code. Tragically, the vast majority of human beings drift through this magnificent, interactive landscape completely asleep, operating entirely on automatic pilot. Sir Isaac Newton captured this human tragedy long ago in his first law of motion, the principle of inertia. In human existence, your deep childhood conditioning, your learned fears, and your subconscious habits form your psychological inertia. If you do not wake up and take control of the keyboard, your analytical mind will copy and paste your past straight into your future. This manuscript is designed to be that external force, a detailed, scientifically backed, battle-tested engineering manual designed to disrupt your momentum, delete your old viral programming, and show you step by step how to master the art of deliberate intention. Part 1. The Quantum Mechanics of Reality. Chapter 1. Superposition, the Observer Effect, and the Participatory Universe. The evolutionary spectrum of the spirit, from victimhood to sovereign architect. Before you can program the quantum matrix, you must understand where your spirit currently sits in its natural evolutionary unfolding. Humanity does not exist in a static state of awareness. Rather, the spirit undergoes a profound, progressive awakening in its relationship to reality. We do not measure this growth in rigid, artificial labels or levels, but as a fluid continuum of spiritual evolution, a gradual shift in perspective that dictates your entire experience of existence. Here is the evolutionary path. The automatic state, victimhood and reaction. At the earliest phase of spiritual evolution, consciousness lives in total hypnotic sleep. Here, the individual genuinely believes that reality is happening to them from the outside in. They view themselves as passive victims of environment, luck, genetics, and fate. Their analytical mind is perpetually trapped in reactivity, blame, and survival fear. They look at the external world as a solid, immovable stone wall, completely unaware that their internal software is projecting the very scenes they complain about. The intentional state, the conscious creator. As the spirit begins to stir, a monumental light bulb ignites, the realization that reality is happening by them. The individual discovers that their thoughts, focus, and internal commands carry broadcast weight. They step onto the path of deliberate intention, realizing that by changing their internal state on the alpha border, the physical environment begins to reorganize itself around them. They move from passive spectator to active participant in the quantum experiment. The instrument state, surrender and flow. As awareness deepens further, the spirit realizes that personal will and aggressive forcing are still remnants of the separate ego. Consciousness shifts into the understanding that reality is happening through them. They recognize themselves as a clean biological instrument through which the supreme intelligence of the quantum information field expresses itself. They drop attachment, eliminate excess potential, and master the profound art of allowing, flowing like a majestic river in perfect heart-brain coherence. The sovereign source state, pure unity. At the apex of spiritual evolution, the artificial boundary between the observer and the observed completely dissolves. The spirit realizes that reality is happening as them. There is no longer me sitting over here and the universe out there. There is only one unified, self-observing quantum information field. You step into pure sovereignty, unshakable peace, infinite love, and absolute knowingness. Mastering your reality is not about acquiring external power or forcing the world to bend to your ego. It is the natural, inevitable byproduct of your spirit evolving along this spectrum, moving out of automatic reactivity and into the majestic truth of who you truly are. Why quantum physics is your everyday reality. Before we explore how to restructure reality, we must clearly define what we mean by quantum physics and quantum mechanics, two interchangeable terms for the exact same scientific field. While classical Newtonian physics explains the behavior of large, everyday objects, like calculating the speed of a falling apple or a moving car, quantum physics is the study of the absolute smallest building blocks of the universe, atoms, electrons, and photons of light. At this microscopic subatomic level, the logical rules of our everyday world completely break down. Matter stops acting like solid, independent objects and instead behaves as a fluid, interconnected wave of information that responds directly to being observed. This interconnected wave of energy exists within what we call the quantum information field. For over a century, classical science taught us that empty space was completely empty. We now know that this is a total illusion. The entire universe is bathed in an invisible, intelligent, highly active grid of energy. The quantum information field is the foundational substrate of all physical reality. It contains all possible probabilities, all alternative timelines, and the foundational energetic blueprint of every physical object. Everything you see, touch, and experience in your daily life is assembled from the invisible data held within this singular field. For those who may feel skeptical, for anyone who believes that quantum mechanics is merely an abstract academic theory or a mystical philosophy that has no tangible bearing on daily life, let us establish a firm, undeniable reality check. Every single piece of technology that defines our modern digital civilization relies entirely on the precise, validated laws of quantum physics. The smartphone sitting in your pocket, the multi-core computer processor running on your desk, your high-definition television, fiber optic internet backbones, GPS satellite navigation, LED lighting, medical MRI scanners, and atomic clocks are not built on classical Newtonian physics. They are quantum devices. The microprocessors inside your computer only function because quantum mechanics explains the electronic band structure of silicon semiconductors and quantum tunneling across sub-nanometer transistors. The lasers that transmit petabytes of digital data across undersea global networks operate strictly through stimulated emission, a purely quantum electrodynamic phenomenon. Without quantum mechanics, the entire digital economy would instantly collapse into complete darkness. Furthermore, we are right now standing on the threshold of an extraordinary new epoch, the era of quantum computing. We are transitioning beyond classical binary computing, which processes data in rigid, isolated ones and zeros, into advanced quantum processors built directly upon quantum superposition and entanglement. Quantum computers do not process data sequentially. They utilize qubits that exist in superposition, exploring infinite computational states concurrently to solve previously impossible problems in seconds. If you accept the empirical reality that quantum mechanics powers your smartphone, your television, global digital networks, and next-generation quantum computers, then you must confront the logical conclusion: you live in a quantum universe. As human beings constructed out of the exact same subatomic particles, governed by the exact same universal laws, and possessing a biological quantum processor inside our neural microtubules, our consciousness, awareness, and biofield are deeply entangled with this exact same quantum information field. Your mind does not sit outside the physical universe looking in. Your consciousness is a quantum transceiver operating inside the information field. If quantum physics dictates the behavior of the device you are using to read or listen to these words, it dictates the very fabric of the reality you experience every single day. To understand how physical reality can be systematically restructured, we must take a deep journey into the subatomic realm and examine the monumental transition from classical Newtonian physics to modern quantum mechanics. When I was 21 years old, my life experienced a radical, permanent pivot. Before that pivot, I was living a highly predictable, tightly programmed, and severely limited existence. I was born and raised Catholic in Montreal, and while I have deep respect for faith, the specific environment I grew up in had heavily conditioned my worldview. I was exceptionally rigid about my belief systems. I had strict, unyielding rules about what was possible, what was impossible, and what someone from my background could realistically achieve. That rigid internal programming directly reflected my external reality. In grade school and high school, I was a thoroughly average student, consistently pulling in grades in the low 60s. I didn't apply myself academically because I genuinely believed that I simply wasn't intelligent enough to compete. I convinced myself that intellectual, scientific, and high-level technical paths were completely closed to me. Because that was my core internal belief system, I chose a physical trajectory that matched it perfectly. After high school, I moved from Montreal to Toronto and became an airport heavy equipment mechanic. I spent my days covered in grease, wrestling with massive diesel engines and heavy pneumatic systems, believing that manual labor was the absolute ceiling of my potential on this earth. Then one afternoon, I came across a book that completely shattered my perception of reality. The book detailed a philosophy that seemed absurd to my mechanical mind. The radical idea that you can do, be, or achieve anything in this world if you master the art of intention, and that your internal focus can literally materialize a new physical reality. Initially, my logical mind rebelled against it. Everything about my strict upbringing and mechanical training told me it was impossible. But I maintained one critical asset: an open, curious mind. I decided to put the philosophy to a rigorous, practical test. The moment I shifted my internal focus and began holding a crystal clear image of academic excellence and intellectual mastery, the trajectory of my entire life fractured into an entirely new dimension. I went from being an average student who doubted his own intellect to completely acing every single class, earning top honors, and pivoting directly into computer science, a rigorous mathematical field I previously thought was light years beyond my reach. It took me years of working in high technology engineering and studying theoretical physics to understand the precise scientific truth behind what I had experienced as a 21-year-old mechanic. The secret wasn't mystical, it was quantum physics. In classical physics, the physics of Isaac Newton, the universe is viewed as a giant clockwork machine made of solid, independent objects. If you throw a baseball, classical physics uses simple equations to calculate its exact trajectory, velocity, and landing spot. The baseball exists in one specific place at one specific time, regardless of whether anyone is looking at it. But in modern quantum mechanics, when physicists zoom down to the subatomic scale, the world of electrons, photons, and quarks, matter completely defies classical logic. In the famous double-slit experiment, physicists fired subatomic particles through two narrow slits onto a detection screen. When no one was observing which slit the particles went through, the particles acted like fluid waves, passing through both slits simultaneously and creating a wave interference pattern on the back wall. Even when scientists fired single individual photons one at a time, each photon inexplicably passed through both slits concurrently, creating a wave interference pattern with itself. However, the moment scientists placed a physical detector or observer at the slits to measure which path the particle actually took, the system altered its physical behavior. The moment measurement occurred, the wave interference pattern vanished. The particles instantly stopped acting like fluid waves and began acting like solid little billiard balls, passing through only one slit. The subatomic world altered its physical behavior based entirely on whether it was being observed. Before observation, quantum particles exist in a mind-bending state known as superposition. Superposition is the scientific principle that a quantum entity exists in multiple states, conditions, or locations simultaneously. Think of Erwin Schrödinger's famous thought experiment, where a cat sealed inside a box with a quantum trigger is mathematically both alive and dead at the exact same time until an observer opens the box and looks inside. Before measurement, the system exists as a fluid blur of infinite potential, a superposition of all possible outcomes existing concurrently in a mathematical field known as the wave function. How does a fluid wave of infinite mathematical probability transform into a solid, physical object that we can touch, see, and experience? According to the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, formulated by Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg, the wave function remains a wave of infinite probability until an external factor interacts with it, measurement or conscious observation. The very microsecond a detector or a conscious observer measures the system, a monumental transformation occurs. The wave function instantly collapses. The infinite blur of possibilities snaps shut, and the fluid wave condenses into a single, solid, localized physical particle at one definitive point in spacetime. John Archibald Wheeler, the legendary Princeton theoretical physicist and mentor to Richard Feynman, took this foundation to its ultimate conclusion with his concept of the participatory universe. Wheeler demonstrated that the universe is not an external stage that we passively watch from the outside like an audience in a movie theater. Rather, the universe is a participatory information system. Wheeler coined the famous phrase, "it from bit," proving that every physical item, every it, derives its existence from information, bits, processed through conscious observation. The observer and the observed are not separate entities. They are a single interconnected quantum feedback loop. This is the exact quantum bridge to human life. Your daily life operates under the exact same structural blueprint. The field of your life exists right now as a grand superposition of infinite possibilities. The healthy you, the prosperous you, the fulfilled you, and the struggling you all exist concurrently in the quantum field as probability waves. What acts as the ultimate observer in your daily life? Your core focus, your deepest belief systems, your self-talk, and your dominant internal attitude. Every single day, your internal attitude acts as the continuous measurement instrument that collapses the infinite wave function of your potential into a solid, material, physical experience. In the profound framework of reality transurfing, formulated by quantum physicist V11, this sea of infinite potentials is known as the alternative space. The alternative space is an information field containing everything that was, is, and ever will be. It houses every single timeline, scenario, or sector available to your life. You do not need to create your success through aggressive physical struggle. Rather, your internal radiation, the total energetic frequency of your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, acts as a selector profile, determining exactly which sector of the alternative space materializes into your physical reality. The fundamental trap most people fall into is that they confuse a shallow intellectual wish with absolute unshakable knowingness. Millions of people wander through life claiming they want to achieve financial freedom, vibrant health, or a loving relationship. But underneath that superficial wish lies a heavy, hidden expectation of failure. They doubt it will happen, they stress over the timeline, they feel unworthy, and they constantly scan their environment for evidence that things are going wrong. To command the quantum wave function of your life, you must transcend fragile belief, which always carries a shadow of doubt, and step into the absolute clarity of knowingness. Knowingness is the serene internal state where you no longer need to hope, beg, or guess. You do not stress about how or when your goals will manifest because you have completely neutralized your doubt. Consider this powerful physical analogy. Imagine standing outside on a day when the sky is covered in a thick, dark blanket of heavy storm clouds. You look up and you cannot see a single beam of sunlight. Yet despite the darkness around you, you do not panic. You do not scream at the sky, and you do not doubt whether the sun still exists. You possess an absolute, unshakable knowingness that the sun is up there behind the clouds, completely intact, radiant and shining, simply waiting for the cloud cover to clear. When you establish that exact same uniform state of knowingness within your consciousness regarding your goals, you align your personal observer effect with the highest possible timeline. The mental chatter stops, the internal static clears, and the quantum information field has no choice but to bend to your focus, collapsing your highest intentions into the physical reality of your life. Guided audio exercise. 1. The Observer Collapse Meditation. Let us pause right here and translate this quantum physics model into a direct, experiential reality inside your body and mind. If you are driving or operating machinery, please pause this recording and return to this exercise when you are in a quiet, safe space where you can close your eyes. If you are seated comfortably, uncross your legs, place your hands gently on your lap, and close your eyes. Take a deep, slow breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold it for 3 seconds, and release it slowly through your mouth, letting all the tension drain out of your shoulders, your jaw, and your neck. Let's do that again. Take a deep rhythmic breath in, filling your abdomen and chest. Hold for 3 seconds and exhale fully, letting your body sink deeper into the surface beneath you. Now bring your conscious awareness directly behind your forehead into the quiet space between your thoughts. Imagine yourself standing in the center of a vast, infinite, midnight blue ocean of pure energy. This is the alternative space, the quantum information field. Floating all around you in this infinite field are countless golden streams of light. Each golden stream represents a parallel sector of your life. One stream carries your ultimate health, another carries your financial abundance, another carries your creative mastery, and another carries absolute peace of mind. Notice how these streams are fluid, vibrating, and unformed, waiting for an observer. Now bring to your mind a single major intention you desire to experience in your physical life. See it clearly in front of you. Do not worry about how it will happen. Focus purely on the accomplished reality. Now step directly into that image. See through your own eyes. Feel the physical texture of that reality. Feel the posture of your body when this goal is fully accomplished. Take a deep breath inside that future moment and feel a massive wave of absolute knowingness wash over your chest. The exact same certainty you have that the sun is shining behind the clouds. Say to yourself internally with absolute quiet authority, "It is done. I am this reality." Feel a blinding beam of coherent golden light shoot from your heart directly into that fluid timeline. Watch as the fluid wave function instantly collapses, snapping into a solid, crystalline physical reality directly beneath your feet. Hold this feeling of absolute accomplishment for 3 deep breath cycles. Inhale certainty, exhale doubt, inhale completion, exhale fear, inhale gratitude, exhale control. Gently open your eyes, bring your awareness back into the room, and carry this calm state of knowingness with you into your day. Chapter 2. The Tree of Realities, Path Integrals, and the Law of Inertia. While the Copenhagen interpretation explains how a single reality collapses into view through observation, modern quantum electrodynamics offers a vastly more expansive framework for understanding our life possibilities. Noblest among these discoveries is Richard Feynman's famous path integral formulation, for which he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. Feynman proved mathematically that a subatomic particle traveling from point A to point B does not travel along a single classical path. Instead, the particle explores and takes every single possible path simultaneously. It travels in a straight line, it curves, it zigzags, it loops backward through time, and it explores paths across multiple dimensions concurrently. The particle exists as an uncollapsed probability cloud executing all paths simultaneously, and only when an observation or measurement is made does the system sum all those histories together, collapsing into one observed physical path. If you scale this mathematical reality up to macroscopic consciousness, you realize a staggering truth. You are not on a single rigid timeline. In the quantum information field, all possible choices, career trajectories, and life paths exist concurrently in superposition. Furthermore, Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation, formulated at Princeton University in 1957, confirms that the quantum wave function never truly disappears. Every time a choice or measurement occurs, reality branches. Every path you could possibly take is actively playing out on a parallel timeline within an overarching, multidimensional multiverse. In reality transurfing, these parallel universes are understood as alternative lifelines running through the information field. You are constantly shifting across these lifelines with every choice, thought, and emotional reaction. However, if you live life on automatic pilot, you are subject to a powerful physical restraint that keeps you locked onto predictable, repetitive, and often disadvantageous paths. That physical restraint is defined by Sir Isaac Newton's first law of motion, the law of inertia. Newton observed that an object at rest will remain at rest, and an object moving in a straight line will continue moving at the exact same speed and direction forever, unless an external force acts upon it. In human life, your deep subconscious programming, your learned emotional reactions, and your biological neural pathways form your inertia. As neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza has extensively documented, the human brain processes roughly 70,000 thoughts per day, and for the average person, 90% of those thoughts are identical to the thoughts they had the day before. Neurons that fire together wire together. When you think the same thoughts, feel the same familiar emotions, and execute the same daily routines, you fire the exact same neural circuits, creating a rigid neurological highway. Your past literally becomes your future. Furthermore, quantum physics features a well-documented phenomenon known as the quantum Zeno effect. The quantum Zeno effect proves mathematically and experimentally that if a quantum system is observed continuously with high frequency, its state is completely frozen and prevented from transitioning. When you continuously fixate your attention on your current physical struggles, debts, or health limitations, your constant, anxious observation freezes that exact physical state in place, preventing your reality from shifting to a new branch. Unless a conscious external force disrupts your trajectory, the law of inertia ensures that your life continues moving in a perfectly straight, automatic line, projecting your past straight into your future. That outside disrupting force is conscious awareness. Let me give you a profound, raw example from my own life of what it looks like to slide down a timeline completely blind due to subconscious inertia. Early in my technology engineering career, while living in Kitchener, Ontario, an extraordinary once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity knocked on my door. I was interviewed and officially offered a key position to become employee number 3 for Cisco Systems Canada. This was immediately following Cisco's historic IPO, at a time when the networking revolution was about to explode across the globe. The financial upside of that executive stock package was astronomical, a clear, direct path to tens of millions of dollars in capital equity and generational wealth. However, Cisco's Canadian headquarters was located in downtown Toronto, which meant a grueling daily commute of over an hour and 15 minutes each way through dense highway traffic. This was long before the era of remote connectivity, cloud infrastructure, or flexible work-from-home policies. Every single engineer had to report to the physical office early every morning, and the role required relentless travel across the North American continent. Instead of stepping back, entering a state of high awareness, and evaluating the grand, multi-year trajectory of this opportunity, I allowed my subconscious inertia to take the wheel. I didn't evaluate the long-term wealth equation, and I didn't explore creative solutions like relocating my family closer to Toronto, selling our home, or setting up a weekday corporate apartment near the office. Instead, my mind reacted purely from my past conditioning of comfort, friction avoidance, and immediate convenience. My analytical ego fixated entirely on the immediate physical friction. The daily drive is too long, the hours are going to be brutal, and I don't want to travel. I turned the offer down. That reactive, comfort-seeking choice locked me onto an automatic timeline that cost me tens of millions of dollars in equity. I allowed the subconscious inertia of short-term comfort to dictate my coordinates in the alternative space. Years later, I found myself standing at another massive branching point in the alternative space, but this time I was wide awake. I had built a highly stable, comfortable, and prestigious life in Toronto. I owned a gorgeous home equipped with a private swimming pool, my technology career was thriving, and my family and social network were completely secure. Yet underneath that material comfort, a powerful sense of internal awareness was growing. I was thoroughly exhausted by the suffocating urban traffic gridlock of Toronto, and I absolutely despised the freezing, brutal 8-month Canadian winters. I formed a clear, unwavering internal goal. I wanted to shift my reality to a warm, sun-drenched location with a booming high-technology ecosystem where my architectural work could expand on a global scale. I didn't know the exact city, and I didn't know how the corporate logistics would work out, but I held that specific destination firmly in my awareness without doubt. Suddenly, out of nowhere, an unexpected executive job offer materialized, inviting me to move across the international border to the west coast of the United States to join a rapidly scaling Silicon Valley technology startup. Instantly, my old subconscious inertia tried to hijack my mind. My immediate defensive ego reaction was to reject the offer. It felt too distant, too risky, and completely disruptive to our family's comfortable routine. But this time, I refused to react on autopilot. I forced myself to pause. I held the decision in pure awareness for several days, letting the emotional static settle while I meticulously observed the environment around me. I flew out to the West Coast to inspect the corporate infrastructure. My logical mind was still whispering to stay in Canada, where everything was safe, predictable, and familiar. Then the universe began delivering a series of unmistakable, jarring external disruptions. In the science of reality transurfing, these are recognized as signs, subtle or severe anomalies that appear in your immediate sector when your energetic frequency is preparing to jump onto a radically different lifeline. The first sign struck in the dead of night. Out of absolutely nowhere, an intruder slipped onto my private property in Toronto and attempted to violently break into our vehicle parked in the driveway. In all our years living in that quiet, upscale neighborhood, nothing remotely like that had ever occurred. It was a severe, jarring rupture in our illusion of domestic security. The second sign arrived immediately after. I suddenly began suffering from agonizing, unexplainable abdominal spasms and severe internal inflammation. That very week, following an excruciating flare-up, I was rushed to the hospital emergency room in the middle of the night. The attending medical staff was remarkably dismissive, leaving me lying on a gurney in severe pain with zero empathy. While my family physician successfully diagnosed the issue the next morning, revealing a sudden, severe lactose intolerance, the profound metaphysical message of that emergency room experience had already landed deep in my consciousness. The universe was violently shaking me out of my comfortable nest. It was using these abrupt, disruptive events to shatter the heavy inertia of my Canadian existence. Because I was paying attention, I read the signs clearly. I overrode my logical anxieties, accepted the executive contract, sold my Canadian property, packed up our entire life, and crossed the international border to the West Coast. That single conscious choice ignited an extraordinary multi-decade career trajectory, yielded immense professional prosperity, and created an unparalleled quality of life for my family. When you wake up to Feynman's path integrals and the many worlds nature of reality, you realize that you never have to fight or struggle against the timeline you are currently on. You simply have to activate your conscious awareness, break the inertia of autopilot, read the subtle signs of the field, and deliberately step onto the prosperous branch waiting for you in the infinite space of variations. Chapter 3. Retrocausality, Delayed Choice, and Rewriting the Past. One of the most revolutionary, mind-bending discoveries in modern quantum mechanics is the phenomenon of retrocausality, the scientific proof that measurement and observation executed in the present moment can reach backward through time to alter and collapse past events. For centuries, classical science convinced humanity that time flows in a single, rigid, irreversible arrow, past to present to future. We were conditioned to believe that the past is locked in concrete, unchangeable, and permanent, while the future approaches like a train on a track. In 1978, theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler proposed a genius experiment known as the delayed choice experiment. Wheeler asked a radical question: what if we fire a quantum particle through the double slits, allow it to pass through the obstacle, and then, after the particle has already made its choice and passed through, we randomly decide whether or not to observe which path it took? If the past were fixed and permanent, a measurement made in the present moment could not possibly alter what the particle did seconds or microseconds ago. When physicists finally possessed the advanced laser telemetry to execute Wheeler's delayed choice experiment in physical laboratories, the results shook the scientific world to its core. If scientists chose not to measure the particle after it had already passed through the slits, the particle retroactively behaved as a wave, having passed through both slits concurrently in the past. But if scientists activated the detector in the present, after the particle had already traversed the slits, the particle retroactively altered its past behavior, having gone through only one slit. The present measurement reached backward through space-time, collapsing the particle's historical trajectory. Causality ran backward. The future observation determined the past history. Richard Feynman called retrocausality in the delayed choice experiment the ultimate mystery of quantum mechanics. What does retrocausality mean for your personal life? It means that your past is not fixed, frozen, or written in concrete. The past you remember is merely one collapsed wave function out of an uncollapsed quantum information field. Every traumatic memory, every painful failure, every deep regret, and every moment of shame you carry exists right now in the quantum field as a fluid wave function containing alternative interpretations and parallel outcomes. When you reobserve a past memory in the present moment, when you reframe its meaning, shift your perspective, and extract its higher evolutionary lesson, you are not engaging in superficial positive thinking or denial. You are executing a macroscopic delayed choice operation. You are reaching backward through your personal neural timeline, collapsing a completely different quantum sector of that memory into your present awareness. This scientific truth destroys the foundational power of regret, guilt, and emotional trauma. Systems of control rely upon keeping individuals trapped in guilt and unchangeable regret, convincing them that they are permanently stained by past mistakes. But quantum mechanics proves that the past is responsive to present observation. When you shift how you observe your history today, you collapse a new past, releasing its heavy emotional weight and instantly changing your present physical frequency. Part 2. The Engine of Intent. Chapter 4. Shifting Gears, Reprogramming the Subconscious. To consistently navigate across the parallel sectors of the alternative space and execute delayed choice timeline shifts, you must understand the mechanical operating system of the human brain. You cannot rewrite your deep internal code from a state of frantic, high-beta mental static. You must learn how to deliberately downshift your brain's neurological gears. In groundbreaking biological and quantum research conducted by Sir Roger Penrose and Dr. Stuart Hameroff, scientists discovered that inside the neurons of the human brain lie microscopic cylindrical structures known as microtubules. These microtubules operate as biological quantum processors, utilizing quantum superposition and entanglement at the cellular level. This discovery proves scientifically that the human brain is not merely a chemical computer, but a sophisticated biological quantum transceiver designed to interface directly with the overarching information field. Our brains operate across 4 primary electrical frequencies known as brainwave states. The beta state, 12 to 30 Hz. This is the frequency of your normal, wide-awake waking reality. In beta, your analytical left brain mind is highly active, focusing on logical processing, critical evaluation, and managing external sensory inputs. It is also the specific frequency where your survival programming, social anxieties, stress responses, and deeply rooted doubts run completely rampant. The alpha state, 8 to 12 Hz. This state occurs when you sit back, close your eyes, and allow your physical, muscular body to deeply relax. Your brain waves slow down into a smooth, rhythmic alpha frequency. In alpha, you enter a light meditative state or a state of creative visualization. The rigid defensive firewall of your analytical ego begins to soften, opening the gateway to the subconscious. The theta state, 4 to 8 Hz. This represents the twilight zone of human consciousness, the profound state occurring as you drift deep into meditation or right on the borderline of sleep. Theta is the raw, unmonitored interface of the subconscious mind. In theta, your mind is exceptionally malleable and open to direct software rewriting. The delta state, 0.5 to 4 Hz. This is the deep, dreamless sleep state where your conscious awareness completely detaches, allowing the brain and physical body to execute deep cellular repair and metabolic restoration. The master secret to reality engineering lies in the precise, conscious utilization of the alpha-theta border, the twilight window that occurs naturally right as you drift off to sleep at night, and the exact microsecond you wake up in the morning. When you are wide awake in beta, your subconscious mind is heavily guarded by your left brain analytical processor. If you sit at your desk in beta and attempt to repeat a superficial positive affirmation like, "I am an extraordinarily wealthy, successful executive," your analytical mind instantly cross-references your current bank balance, looks at your current struggles, and screams, "No, You're not. That's a lie. The intention is instantly rejected by your mental software. But when you downshift your brain into the relaxed, fluid states of alpha and theta, your biological quantum computer drops its analytical defenses. As cell biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton established in his monumental research on epigenetics, your subconscious beliefs directly control cellular biology, gene expression, and your body's electromagnetic field. Your subconscious code doesn't just change your mood, it alters your physical DNA expression and broadcasts a totally different frequency into the quantum information field. Let me share a raw personal story of how a profound shift in subconscious alignment completely rewired my life long before I fully understood the formal science behind it. As a young man in Toronto, after moving away from Montreal, I was working as an airport heavy equipment mechanic. I thoroughly despised the job. It was exhausting, dirty, physical labor. But because of my poor academic history, my subconscious mind was deeply programmed with the limiting belief that this mechanical trade was the absolute ceiling of my potential on this earth. Then an extraordinary, high-stakes disruption occurred. The entire airport workforce went on a massive, sweeping labor strike. As the strike dragged on for weeks, the corporate management of our specific mechanical shop made a highly controversial executive decision. They issued an ultimatum ordering all mechanics to cross the physical union picket line and return to work immediately. Within days, under severe financial pressure, virtually every single mechanic in my shop surrendered, broke the strike, and crossed the picket line. I stood at an agonizing personal crossroads. My father was pressuring me heavily to conform, stop fighting, and follow the rest of the shop back across the line to protect my stable paycheck. But deep inside my chest, on a visceral cellular level, my intuition spoke up. A powerful, quiet inner voice told me that crossing that picket line was fundamentally wrong for me. I chose to trust that inner voice. I refused to cross the line, standing completely alone against my work colleagues, corporate management, and the intense expectations of my family. When the strike finally concluded months later, I was called back into the corporate facility. Because I had refused to cross the picket line alongside management, the shop executives were deeply hostile and refused to integrate me back into the team. Simultaneously, because of complex labor union politics, the union refused to back me up. I was officially terminated and cast out. To an outside observer, this was a total life disaster. My income was gone, I was unemployed, and my mechanical trade framework had completely collapsed. Yet inside my being, I didn't feel an ounce of fear, panic, or regret. Instead, I was flooded with an overwhelming, radiant wave of pure, unadulterated joy. I felt completely, totally liberated. By trusting my inner intuition and allowing that old mechanical timeline to shatter, my subconscious mind was instantly forced to expand. The old limiting program that claimed I could only be a mechanic was completely wiped out, because that physical path no longer existed. With no other choice, I bravely enrolled directly into an intense college computer science program, a highly complex, abstract mathematical discipline that my old conditioning had told me I wasn't smart enough to master. To master your reality, you must establish a dedicated, disciplined daily practice to consciously program your subconscious mind, rather than waiting for an external crisis to force a rewrite. In my own daily life, I dedicate an hour to an hour and a half every single day to deep alpha-theta meditation, silencing the analytical mind to interface directly with the field. But let me give you a critical piece of engineering advice. Do not start there. You do not build a skyscraper on day one. To begin systematically rewiring your reality, all you need to do is select one single intention. When you go to bed at night, anchor your mind to that one intention. Fall asleep with the profound, visceral feeling that this intention is already an accomplished fact. Wake up in the morning and immediately reclaim that exact same emotional alignment, living in the absolute assumption that it is done. Then at some point during your busy day, step away from your desk or routine for just 5 minutes. Dedicate those 5 minutes to an isolated intention meditation, dropping into alpha and locking your focus entirely onto that future reality, as if it is happening right now. Treat this as a clean, non-negotiable daily protocol. As you get comfortable with this 5-minute daily practice, and as you begin to witness the undeniable proof that physical reality bends to your focus, you can layer in more time. But start small, master the single thread, and watch the matrix respond. The formula for daily subconscious programming requires 3 absolute rules. The present tense command. You must never frame your intention in the future tense. If your internal software states, I am going to become a successful executive, your subconscious registers, going to, keeping the outcome perpetually locked in the future, just out of reach. You must command the field using the ultimate present tense. I am healthy, I am a master of my field, or I am deeply grateful for this achievement. Mental visualization. You must close your eyes on the alpha-theta border and project a crystal-clear first-person mental movie of your goal as an accomplished fact. Do not watch yourself from a distance like a movie viewer. Look through your own eyes inside the scene. The feeling nature. Thought alone is completely insufficient. Thought is merely the directional code. You must generate the precise physical, emotional frequency of having already achieved the goal. Whether it is a deep wave of relief, an exclamation of triumph, or profound gratitude, that emotional frequency is what ignites heart-brain coherence and broadcasts the signal into the field. When you run this loop every morning as you awaken and every night as you drift off to sleep, you systematically overwrite the old dusty data of your past, forcing your mind's autopilot to steer you directly onto your highest evolutionary lifeline. Guided Audio Exercise 2, the 5-minute Subconscious Reprogramming Protocol. Let us execute this 5-minute subconscious protocol together right now. Sit comfortably, upright, with your spine straight and your hands resting open on your thighs. Close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath at the top for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do that again. Inhale deeply. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold gently. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale completely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Feel a warm, heavy wave of total physical relaxation wash down from the top of your head, soothing your forehead, relaxing your eyes, softening your jaw, and dropping your shoulders down away from your ears. Your brain waves are smoothly shifting down from beta into a quiet, receptive alpha state. Now bring your single target intention into your mind. Formulate it into a clean, powerful, present tense command starting with the words, I am. Say it silently in your mind right now with absolute authority. I am. Now instantly project the first-person mental movie. Step inside your body in that future moment. Look down at your hands in that scene. Look at the room or environment around you. Who is standing near you? What are they saying to you? Hear their voice congratulating you. Now ignite the feeling. Reach down into your heart and pull up the visceral emotion of total accomplishment. Feel the physical relief in your stomach. Feel the pride in your chest. Feel the warm smile on your face. Hold this exact feeling. Lock onto it. Breathe it into every cell of your body. Now repeat your internal command. It is done. Thank you. Take one final deep, refreshing breath. Exhale fully and open your eyes. You have just rewritten a line of code in your subconscious network. Chapter 5. The 6-month mirror and calculated action. One of the most widespread and dangerous illusions in personal development is the myth that you can simply sit in a quiet room, close your eyes, visualize your dream life, and watch reality magically reorganize itself without you ever taking physical action. This is a complete misunderstanding of how our physical universe operates. Meditation, subconscious reprogramming, and intention mastery are the vital internal engines of creation. But physical action is the grounding rod that locks that creation into material form. Action is the direct, explicit signal you send to the quantum field proving that you are absolute in your intent. To master physical manifestation, you must understand a fundamental universal law, the 6-month mirror. Imagine standing in front of a massive, high-definition mirror that has a built-in 6-month time delay. When you look into that mirror today, it does not reflect what you look like in this exact microsecond. Instead, it projects a precise, crystal-clear reflection of who you were, what you believed, and what actions you executed 6 months ago. Physical matter has immense density, molecular structure, and spatial inertia. Unlike the lightning-fast fluid movements of the quantum information field, the material physical world requires time to shift, reorganize, and reconfigure its physical parts to match your new internal frequency. This time lag is the exact point where 99% of people completely fail. A person decides to transform their life. They start meditating, they eat healthy, they set powerful financial intentions, and they begin taking daily action. They execute this new protocol diligently for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month. Then they look at their immediate physical environment, see the exact same bank balance, the exact same job, and the exact same physical struggles. And they throw their hands up in frustration, crying out, "This stuff doesn't work." They fail to realize that their current physical environment is merely the delayed echo, the 6-month mirror reflection of their old past thoughts, fears, and actions. Cell biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton's research demonstrates that the subconscious mind controls over 95% of our daily choices and physical behaviors. If you harbor a hidden, default vibrational set point of lack, unworthiness, or doubt, you will unconsciously execute behaviors that repel prosperity, regardless of your superficial conscious efforts. To shift your set point permanently, you must maintain long-term perseverance, emotional stability, and unshakable knowingness to bridge that 6-month physical delay while the universe restructures itself around your new code. To maintain momentum during this physical delay, you must strategically categorize your physical movements into what I call the spectrum of action. True reality engineering requires balancing 3 distinct types of daily action. Actions toward intention. These are the direct, calculated, strategic steps you execute toward a clearly defined professional, financial, or personal objective. True goals are never about a generic desire for money. Money is completely neutral paper or digital data. It is merely a medium of exchange. You must strip the dollar signs away from your target and get intensely passionate about the specific, tangible outcome and experience that money provides. Once that target is clear, you must execute micro-actions every single day. Even a tiny dedicated block of 15 or 30 minutes of focused execution creates an unstoppable avalanche of physical momentum over a year or two. Let me share a foundational secret from my own engineering career. Early on, as I was transitioning into the technology sector, I recognized a glaring universal truth. The vast majority of professionals completely stop studying, reading, or expanding their skill sets the absolute moment they complete their formal schooling. They clock out at 5 o'clock and completely surrender their evenings to passive entertainment and distraction. I made a fierce, non-negotiable commitment to disrupt that pattern. For decades, from Monday night through Thursday night, without exception, I dedicated exactly 2 hours every single night to deep, rigorous technical reading, architecture study, and skill development before I went to bed. While others were watching television or socializing, I was meticulously analyzing advanced networking protocols, distributed cloud operating systems, and eventually the complex mathematics of quantum physics. I sustained that 2-hour nightly discipline for decades. That calculated action is the direct reason I became a globally recognized CTO architect and industry leader. I put in the concentrated physical work required to signal the quantum field that my intentions were absolute. Actions toward consciousness. An action toward consciousness is a deliberate movement designed to gather raw, high-quality data, technical perspective, and strategic understanding, even if it doesn't immediately link to your current job or goal. For instance, it could mean spending an evening analyzing global market trends, studying advanced corporate investing, researching quantum compute models, or reading business biographies. You are not executing this step to achieve an instant, immediate victory. You are doing it to acquire small, individual nuggets of pure consciousness. When you accumulate enough of these seemingly disconnected technical nuggets, they suddenly snap together in your mind like a complex puzzle. A brilliant, blinding light bulb goes off in your brain, and that sudden, profound aha moment is true, actionable awareness. Actions toward pure heart-centered joy. You must completely reject the toxic corporate hustle culture that demands you spend every single waking second grinding, stressing, and burning your nervous system into the ground. Taking frantic action out of a state of desperate anxiety is just as destructive as taking no action at all. It broadcasts a loud frequency of fear and lack straight into the quantum field. You must deliberately allocate sacred blocks of your week to pure, present moment joy. You must understand the profound scientific difference between pleasure and joy. Pleasure is merely a temporary sensory stimulation of the physical body, like eating a slice of junk food, drinking excessively, or mindlessly scrolling through social media feeds. Joy, however, emanates directly from the deep center of the human heart. Joy is the profound feeling of bliss, presence, awe, and oneness that you experience when you walk through the stillness of a forest, play music, pet your dog, or hold someone you love tight in your arms. Sometimes an action toward joy is simply sitting back, reflecting, and enjoying a magnificent glass of vintage red wine at the end of an intense week. Taking actions toward joy calms your sympathetic nervous system, restores biological harmony, and keeps your electromagnetic energy at an exceptionally high, attractive frequency. Wake up every single morning, take inventory of your goals, and execute your calculated micro-actions toward your intentions. But balance that movement by prioritizing your heart-centered joy, allowing the 6-month mirror to steadily and perfectly materialize your new reality. Chapter 6. The Takeout Order. Mastering the Art of Allowing. Once you have set your present tense intentions on the alpha-theta border and back them up with calculated physical action, you must execute the most difficult, paradoxical step in the entire manifestation architecture. You must completely let go. You must master the profound art of allowing. In our hyper-reactive, control-obsessed world, we are heavily conditioned to believe that if we want something to happen, we have to grab it, force it, manipulate it, micromanage it, and chase it down with aggressive anxiety. But the quantum information field operates under an entirely opposite set of laws. When you chase a goal out of a state of desperate worry, stress, or intense emotional attachment, you are not projecting success to the field. You are actively radiating a powerful, loud frequency of fear and lack. You are telling the universe, I don't have this and I'm terrified I never will. Because the field is an objective feedback mirror, it immediately responds to that frantic vibration by pushing the goal further and further away from you. Think of setting an intention exactly like placing a takeout order at a high-end restaurant. When you walk up to the counter, look at the menu, and place your order with the staff, you don't instantly start pacing the floor, screaming at the kitchen staff, or running into the back kitchen to double-check if the chef is actually chopping the vegetables. You don't sit at your table in agonizing fear, wondering if the food is a total myth. Instead, you place your order, step back, sit down, and relax. You possess an absolute calm state of knowingness that the order has been successfully logged into the system. It is actively being prepared by experts behind the scenes, and it will be delivered directly to your table when the preparation is complete. Your intention operates the exact same way. The moment you forge a uniform alignment between your logical left-brain reasoning and your heart's deep-feeling nature, you achieve a state of flawless heart-brain coherence. As documented in groundbreaking clinical research by the HeartMath Institute, the human heart contains an intrinsic nervous system of roughly 40,000 sensory neurites, a mini brain inside the heart. Furthermore, the heart generates an electromagnetic field over 5,000 times stronger magnetically and 60 times stronger electrically than the field generated by the brain in your skull. This proves scientifically that your heart's emotional frequency carries vastly greater broadcast power into the quantum information field than cold intellectual thoughts alone. When you enter heart-brain synchronization, inhaling deeply for 5 seconds and exhaling for 5 seconds while focusing on profound gratitude in your heart, your entire electromagnetic biofield expands exponentially. broadcasting a coherent, laser-like signal directly into the quantum information field. Once that order is placed, you must let it go. You must allow the intelligent, self-organizing property of the field, known as emergence, to do the heavy lifting. The quantum field has to organize millions of moving parts, align disparate timelines, and coordinate the actions of countless other human beings to perfectly weave your manifestation into the physical grid of reality. If you become impatient and try to force the outcome through frantic manipulation, it is the exact equivalent of planting a pristine seed in the fertile soil and then digging it up every single morning with your fingers to obsessively check if the roots are growing. You destroy the delicate root system before it ever has a chance to break through the surface. In the structural framework of reality transurfing, this destructive forcing energy is called creating excess potential. When you place too much codependent importance or desperate need on a goal, you create an intense energetic polarization in the field. The universe loves equilibrium, so it instantly activates balancing forces to eliminate that excess potential. Unfortunately, the easiest way for the universe to restore equilibrium is to simply strip the object of your desire completely away from you. To navigate reality smoothly, you must drop your level of importance down to zero, maintain your quiet intent, and let reality come to you. I have experienced the absolute power of this letting go process throughout my executive career. There have been moments where I fixated obsessively on a specific corporate outcome or deal, working myself to the bone, stressed, frustrated, and completely out of heart alignment. I tried to force the door open through sheer physical willpower, and it remained completely slammed in my face. The absolute microsecond I finally exhausted myself, threw my hands up in total surrender, and said internally, I let it go, I trust the process. The excess potential vanished. The static cleared, and bingo, the exact opportunity or executive solution I had been chasing would suddenly manifest out of thin air on its own accord. When you step onto a stage or execute a major life transition, you must learn to operate like a majestic river. A river doesn't sprint, panic, or violently thrash against its banks. It simply flows gracefully downstream in a natural, organic path, perfectly bypassing physical obstacles until it inevitably reaches the ocean. Stop splashing, stop struggling, and stop trying to force the universe to move on your desperate timeline. Place your takeout order through deep heart-brain coherence on the alpha border, execute your daily calculated micro-actions, and then step back into a state of relaxed grace, allowing the infinite intelligence of the field to deliver your reality straight to your door. Part 3. Clearing the software. Chapter 7. Overcoming childhood programming and engrams. You can master the mechanics of brainwave states, write flawless, present-tense intentions on the alpha border, and take calculated micro-actions every single morning. But if your life still refuses to shift onto a higher timeline, it means you are attempting to drive a high-performance sports car forward while your foot is completely slammed down on a hidden, subconscious emergency brake. To achieve ultimate liberation, you must venture deep into your internal operating system and shine a blinding light on your childhood programming. When a human child is born and arrives on this planet, they land with a completely clean, fresh, unwritten biological hard drive. A newborn baby has absolutely no conceptual understanding of language, social hierarchies, financial systems, or artificial human boundaries. Everything is systematically programmed into them by their immediate environment. Neurological and psychological research confirms that the prime window of human programming occurs from birth until roughly age 6 or 7. During these critical formative years, a child's brain operates predominantly in highly receptive, low-frequency delta and theta brainwave states. They are literal psychological sponges. Long before they develop the analytical left brain capacity to logically evaluate, question, or reject incoming data, they are directly absorbing the entire emotional vibe, behavioral habits, and limiting beliefs of their parents, teachers, and caregivers. If you were born in a specific region, you absorb that specific societal worldview. You were handed a prepackaged religion, a specific language structure, and a rigid set of cultural boundaries before you even understood your own independent identity. These early childhood programs are driven directly into the deep basements of your subconscious mind. As an adult, your conscious mind forgets the specific incidents that laid down these tracks, but the software continues to run silently in the background of your neural network, heavily dictating your self-worth, your relationship choices, and your financial ceilings for the rest of your life. In the language of reality transurfing, these deep subconscious structures act as pendulums, energetic thought structures that feed on human emotional energy. Your childhood conditioning hooks you into specific pendulums that harvest your mental energy and pull you onto negative lifelines without your conscious consent. Furthermore, groundbreaking research by Cambridge biologist Dr. Rupert Sheldrake on morphic fields proves that human consciousness is interconnected in an invisible energetic web. Our thought patterns don't sit in isolation. They tune into collective societal morphic fields, pulling us into established group behaviors unless we consciously decouple from them. To systematically dismantle these invisible anchors, we must examine how severe emotional hits scar our neural pathways through the creation of engrams. An engram is a precise, deep-seated subconscious memory trace carved into your neural network during a moment of intense negative emotion, trauma, public shame, or psychological pain. The engram acts exactly like a hidden, defensive virus inside your mental software. The moment a present-day adult event vaguely mimics the original painful experience, the engram instantly fires, flooding your physical body with irrational fear, intense self-doubt, or unexplainable anxiety, completely sabotaging your ability to succeed. Let me share an extraordinarily raw, personal example of how a single childhood engram quietly sabotaged a massive sector of my reality for 40 full years. When I was a 13-year-old boy living in the freezing winters of Montreal, a burning, passionate desire ignited within my soul. I desperately wanted to learn how to play the guitar. Because my family lived under tight financial boundaries, my father wasn't about to simply buy me an instrument. I had to work for it. I took a grueling morning newspaper delivery route, dragging a heavy wooden wagon through deep snowdrifts in sub-zero temperatures every single morning, meticulously collecting pennies until I had saved up enough money to purchase my very first electric guitar and a small amplifier. I was incredibly proud. I hired a local music teacher to show me basic chords, and I would sit in my bedroom for hours every day, practicing a single song over and over until I believed I had mastered it. One evening, bursting with pride and excitement, I called all my brothers and sisters into the living room. I said, "Hey everyone, come sit down. Look, I can finally play a whole song on the guitar." They sat down. I took a deep breath, and I began to play. Because I was a raw beginner performing under pressure, my fingers trembled, and my performance was clumsy, wobbly, and technically poor. My siblings didn't cheer. Instead, they burst out into loud, pointing, mocking laughter. In that exact split second, a massive, devastating emotional hit slammed into my 13-year-old psyche. I was flooded with an intense, burning wave of absolute shame, public humiliation, and total inadequacy. I quietly packed the guitar away into its case, completely unaware that a severe, deeply entrenched engram had just been violently burned into my subconscious neural software. The core subconscious program read, "When you perform music live in front of people, you are a failure, you will be mocked, and you are not good enough." That single childhood engram followed me like a dark shadow for over 40 years. I practiced relentlessly over the decades, developed immense technical skill, and could sit alone in my private recording studio playing absolutely flawless, brilliant guitar passages because there was zero external pressure. But the absolute microsecond I stepped onto a physical stage to play live with a band in front of an audience, the childhood engram would instantly fire. My brain would erupt with negative mental chatter, my muscles would lock up, and I would battle a blinding wave of stage pressure and anxiety. Ironically, in my formal corporate technology career, I could walk onto global conference stages in front of thousands of tech executives and present completely unscripted with fluid, effortless confidence because no childhood engram existed in that corporate sector. But in my musical reality, a 13-year-old boy was still freezing in Montreal, terrified of being laughed at. So how do we systematically delete these viral engrams from our mental software? We utilize the advanced reframing techniques of neurolinguistic programming, NLP, to consciously rewrite the emotional charge of our memories. Memory in the human brain is not a static, unchangeable video file. It is a fluid, dynamic neural pathway. Every single time you recall a memory, you bring it into an active state where its code can be rewritten. If you consciously overlay a negative memory with a massive injection of high-frequency emotional energy, you strip away its emotional sting, shifting its electrical charge from negative to completely neutral. Here is my exact, step-by-step golden dot reframing technique that I have practiced for decades to clean my subconscious software. Conscious replay. Sit in a quiet alpha state, close your eyes, and deliberately call up the specific, painful childhood memory that is fueling your present limitation. Replay the scene on your mental screen and consciously allow yourself to feel the uncomfortable sting of the shame, fear, or inadequacy. Do not run away from it. Let the raw energy surface. Inject the golden dot. As the negative mental movie plays at its peak emotional intensity, visualize a tiny, brilliantly radiant, burning gold dot directly in the dead center of the screen. The joy explosion. Take a deep breath and suddenly flash explode that golden dot, completely obliterating the old negative scene in a blinding flash of golden light. In its place, instantly flood the screen with a memory of absolute, unadulterated, heart-centered joy, such as the face of your newborn child, a radiant memory of walking on a sun-drenched tropical beach, or a moment of pure triumph. Scramble the code. Alternatively, run the negative memory completely in reverse at double speed, or inject an absurd, hilarious element directly into the scene, like a squeaking circus clown jumping between your historical siblings, to completely scramble the old neural pattern, transforming a target of shame into something that feels funny or completely neutral. If you do not execute this deep software cleaning, no amount of superficial positive thinking will ever shift your lifeline. You must bring these ancient childhood scripts into the light of awareness, neutralize their charge, and grant yourself total freedom to design your reality. Guided Audio Exercise 3. The Golden Dot Engram Deletion Practice. Let us execute the Golden Dot reframing technique together right now to clear a limiting memory from your neural network. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take 3 deep, slow, relaxing breaths. Inhale peace, exhale tension, inhale clarity, exhale fear, inhale light, exhale the past. Now bring to your mind a specific past memory where you felt shame, failure, rejection, or inadequacy. A moment that still creates a subtle sting when you think about it. See the scene playing out on a mental screen in front of you. See the people involved. Hear the words spoken. Allow that uncomfortable feeling to surface in your chest or stomach for just 5 seconds. Feel it fully. Now bring your focus to the exact center of that mental screen. Place a tiny, intensely brilliant, burning golden dot right in the center of the image. Take a deep breath in, and on the count of 3, we are going to flash explode that golden dot. 1, 2, 3. Explode the light. A blinding burst of radiant golden sunfire completely vaporizes the old memory. The old scene dissolves into harmless dust. Now instantly replace the screen with a magnificent, high-definition memory of pure heart-centered joy. See a moment where you felt deeply loved, victorious, or in total awe of life. Feel that warm, radiant joy flooding your chest right now. Feel your heart expanding with pure gratitude. Now look back at the old memory spot. Notice how it feels completely empty, distant, neutral, and powerless. Say to yourself with supreme authority, "The past has no power over me. I am the creator of my now." Take a deep, refreshing breath. Feel the lightness in your chest and open your eyes. Systemic matrix resistance. Overcoming societal damping and pendulum resistance. As you elevate your frequency and step into deliberate reality creation, you will inevitably encounter a powerful, invisible phenomenon: systemic matrix resistance. When you exist in the unconscious automatic state, you are functionally invisible to the matrix because your behavior is completely predictable, controllable, and locked into collective societal morphic fields. But the absolute microsecond you wake up, break the inertia of past conditioning, and begin broadcasting a high coherence frequency, you disrupt the local energetic equilibrium. The unawakened collective society around you, what we can understand as the unconscious matrix, operates as a self-reinforcing feedback loop. Society, corporate structures, cultural expectations, and even well-meaning family members are heavily programmed to maintain baseline predictability. They rely on fear, guilt, status anxiety, and artificial urgency to keep individuals manageable and quiet. When you begin to transform, expand, and step into your true sovereign power, the surrounding collective field experiences your transformation as a threat to its operational stability. This triggers an automatic wave of systemic damping, a subtle or aggressive social friction designed to push you back down, trigger your old childhood engrams, and force you back into conformity. People around you may suddenly question your decisions, mock your new practices, express unprovoked skepticism, or try to pull you back into old dramatic patterns. They are not doing this out of conscious malice. Rather, their unconscious conditioning is acting as an automated agent of the matrix, attempting to restore the old predictable baseline. In physics, when an oscillator tries to vibrate at a new, higher frequency inside a dense medium, the medium exerts viscous drag, a damping force that absorbs the energy of the oscillator. Societal resistance is simply the viscous drag of the collective unawakened matrix. If you attempt to fight this societal resistance directly, screaming at critics, arguing with family, or trying to forcefully convince the unawakened world that you are right, you fall straight into a deadly energetic trap. In reality transurfing, fighting the system creates massive excess potential. You inadvertently hook your consciousness directly into the energetic pendulums of society, feeding them your mental energy and causing the matrix resistance to hit you twice as hard. To transcend societal damping and neutralize matrix resistance, you must deploy the protocol of energetic non-resistance. Acknowledge the friction as telemetry. When societal resistance or criticism appears, do not take it personally and do not react with anger. Smile inwardly and recognize it for what it truly is: hard telemetry proving that your frequency has successfully shifted away from the baseline matrix. Resistance is proof that you are breaking free from the gravity of the collective morphic field. Drop importance to zero. Completely strip away the desire to prove yourself, defend your choices, or convince unawakened people to validate your journey. Grant other people total freedom to remain in their automatic sleep state, while you quietly retain total freedom to command your position in the alternatives space. Execute the transparency technique. When social pressure, negativity, or corporate friction is directed at you, imagine yourself becoming entirely transparent, like a clear glass window. Allow the negative commentary, judgment, or societal resistance to pass right through you without hitting a single wall of internal defense or emotional reactivity. When there is no ego resistance inside you for their energy to slam into, the matrix resistance passes harmlessly through into the void, completely neutralized. By remaining transparent, calm, and locked in laser coherence, you break the energetic hook of societal pendulums. The surrounding matrix eventually surrenders its drag, the friction dissolves, and the physical universe has no choice but to adjust to the sovereign frequency of your new reality. Chapter 8. The Coherent Life and the Practical Exercises of Sovereignty. To bring this architectural framework to a state of total operational mastery, we must examine the unifying principle of reality engineering: vibrational alignment. We have established the physics of the wave function, mapped out the branching choices of the alternative space, detailed the software mechanics of the subconscious mind, and cleared our childhood engrams. But at the end of the day, the quantum information field does not merely deliver what you wish for, it explicitly delivers exactly who you are. Your daily physical environment is a direct mathematical mirror reflecting the exact vibrational frequency of your combined being. To understand how to master your personal frequency, you must understand the deep physics of coherence. Consider the light emanating from a standard 60-watt household light bulb. That light is fundamentally incoherent. The photons are vibrating completely out of phase, scattering wildly in every direction, bumping into one another, and dispersing their energy. Because it is incoherent, a 60-watt light bulb can do nothing more than gently illuminate a small domestic room. Now take that exact same amount of light energy, 60 watts, but run it through a modern technological filter to align the photons into perfect unified phase. Ensure that every single light wave is vibrating at the exact same frequency, peak for peak, valley for valley, marching forward in flawless unison. You have just created a high-powered laser beam. Because a laser beam is perfectly coherent, its energy is so intensely concentrated that a 60-watt laser can slice directly through thick sheets of reinforced industrial steel. The exact same light energy, when scattered and incoherent, can barely light a room. When perfectly coherent, it cuts through steel. This is the definitive blueprint for human vibration. Most human beings live their lives in a state of absolute vibrational incoherence. Their analytical minds are thinking about success, but their subconscious software is running a script of childhood unworthiness. Their spoken words claim they want a breakthrough, but their daily actions are sluggish, distracted, and completely out of phase with their stated goals. Their energy is fractured, scattered, and incoherent, bouncing randomly off the quantum information field like a weak light bulb. True reality engineering demands that you cultivate a state of flawless, uniform congruency. Every single layer of your essence, your logical thoughts, your heart's deep-feeling nature, your spoken language, your daily microactions, and your underlying subconscious code must be locked in phase, vibrating as a single high-powered laser focus directed squarely at the field. Furthermore, as Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's quantum research reveals, human energy fields can become quantum entangled across physical space. When your energy field is locked in laser coherence, your frequency resonates across distance, explaining why key people suddenly contact you out of nowhere, or why monumental executive opportunities appear out of thin air. You are broadcasting an electromagnetic signature that interacts with the universe before you ever speak a word. To maintain this laser focus amid a demanding life, I deploy specific mechanical daily protocols designed to disrupt waking autopilot and lock consciousness into high coherence. Priority reallocation. For the next 7 days, banish the phrase, "I don't have time," completely from your vocabulary. Whenever you feel compelled to say or think it, replace it immediately with the truth. I am choosing not to prioritize this right now. This simple, precise shift moves your consciousness from a passive victim of external time pressure to a sovereign agent commanding priorities in collapsing probability. Biological de-escalation. Whenever you experience a sudden wave of middle-of-the-night anxiety or waking panic regarding deadlines, immediately state internally, "This is not time. This is a temporary biological cortisol spike." Identify the chemistry. Execute 2 minutes of 4-second inhalation and 6-second exhalation to down-regulate your sympathetic nervous system, proving to your body that you are safe in the present moment. Retroactive timeline collapse. Select one historical regret or painful memory. State silently, "That event is not a fixed monument. It is information in the quantum field. I am choosing a different observation angle." Visualize a parallel timeline where that exact event forced your growth, gave you critical wisdom, or served as your greatest catalyst for success. Hold that high-frequency interpretation for 60 seconds, collapsing a new retroactive meaning into your present awareness. Wave state holding. When facing an uncertain future outcome, consciously refuse to collapse prematurely into panic or catastrophic predictions. Say out loud, "This future exists in superposition. All outcomes are uncollapsed waves. I hold all possibilities in calm awareness and choose my state." By maintaining the uncollapsed wave state without anxiety, you preserve complete sovereignty to select your highest timeline when action is required. Observer identity decoupling. Whenever emotional storms arise, repeat the sovereign command, I am the observer, not the observed. Recognize that you are not the temporary emotion, the stress, or the timeline. You are the eternal, conscious observer choosing which probability to collapse into physical reality. The 90-minute daily anchor. Dedicate 1 to 1.5 hours every single morning to deep alpha-theta meditation, dropping brainwaves and broadcasting precise commands into the quantum information field. The Apple Watch re-triggering technique utilized the periodic haptic buzz on your wrist as an immediate disruption of waking autopilot. The moment the haptic buzz strikes, instantly summon the exact physical, emotional frequency of your grandest goals as accomplished facts for 5 seconds, executing real-time subconscious defragmentation. The law of calculated diligence. Ensure your physical actions seamlessly match your internal broadcasting by coupling daily meditation with 2 hours of nightly technical study and physical preparation, ensuring physical actions act as a magnifying lens for internal intent. Chapter 9. The Intelligent Vacuum and the Emergence of Reality. In this chapter, we look directly into the absolute foundation of all physical matter, the quantum information field. To understand this layout, let us discard an old scientific illusion. For over a century, classical science taught us that empty space is completely empty. We were told that if you take a vacuum, strip away all atoms, remove all light, and lower the temperature down to absolute zero, you are left with absolute nothingness. Modern physics has completely shattered this paradigm. We now know that empty space is not empty at all. It is built upon a churning foundation known as the quantum information field. Even at absolute zero, in the deepest voids of the cosmos, the quantum information field is alive, a brewing sea of infinite background energy. Space is actively bubbling with virtual particles popping into existence out of nothingness, interacting and returning to the field. How does a physical object emerge from an invisible vacuum? We look to the extreme physics of black holes and the early Big Bang. As Stephen Hawking mathematically proved with Hawking radiation, at the event horizon of a black hole, extreme gravitational forces rip virtual particle pairs apart, pushing real energy and matter out into the physical universe. Matter can literally be birthed straight out of the vacuum of space. This creation is governed by emergence theory, the phenomenon where complex, highly organized patterns and intelligent macro behaviors arise naturally from simple local interactions. Think of a massive flock of thousands of starlings swirling through the evening sky in magnificent synchronization. Each individual bird follows simple rules, yet the collective flock functions as an intelligent macroorganism possessing an intelligence that no single bird has on its own. The fabric of our reality operates under this exact law of emergence. Subatomic space is constructed out of the smallest theoretical building blocks in physics, Planck units. These unfathomably small units form the liquid structure of space itself, creating an interconnected grid that carries all the data of the physical universe, the quantum information field. Matter is organized, directed, and sustained by this intelligent field. And because you are an expression of this universe, your consciousness is completely entangled with this field. To command the emergence of the quantum field, you can practice the biofield energy sensing and calibration practice. Hold your hands 6 inches apart in front of your chest, focusing entirely on the subtle tingling, warmth, and magnetic resistance between your palms. Practice expanding that biofield energy outward while breathing deeply, inhaling for 5 seconds, holding for 5 seconds, and exhaling for 5 seconds. As you state your present tense commands on the alpha border, project this expanded electromagnetic biofield directly into the quantum information field. Submit your order, drop your attachment to zero, and allow the infinite power of emergence to organize your physical reality. Chapter 10. Quantum Jumping, Teleportation of Consciousness and Timeline Navigation. In classical Newtonian mechanics, everything in the material universe moves along a continuous, predictable linear ramp. If you want to move an object from point A to point B, it must traverse every single millimeter of physical space in between. For centuries, classical physics convinced humanity that personal growth, character evolution, and life trajectory operate under the exact same sluggish, linear rule that you must slowly, painfully struggle through incremental steps to reach a new state of being. Quantum electrodynamics shatters this linear illusion. At the subatomic scale, matter does not move along a smooth ramp. In 1913, Danish theoretical physicist Niels Bohr unlocked the mystery of atomic emission spectra by proving that electrons inside an atom occupy specific quantized energy levels, like discrete rungs on a ladder. When an electron transitions between energy levels, it does not slide through the space in between the rungs. Instead, it executes a quantum jump, instantly disappearing from level 1 and reappearing at level 2 without ever occupying the physical gap between them. For decades, the concept of instantaneous quantum jumps sparked one of the most fierce, celebrated battles in the history of science. Erwin Schrödinger, the legendary creator of the quantum wave equation, utterly despised the concept of abrupt, discontinuous jumps. Schrödinger viewed nature as a fluid, continuous wave resonance, like standing wave modes vibrating across a drumhead or a guitar string. In 1926, during an intense debate at Niels Bohr's home in Copenhagen, a bedridden Schrödinger famously cried out, "If we are still going to have to put up with these damn quantum jumps, I'm sorry that I ever had anything to do with quantum theory." Decades later, in 1952, Schrödinger published a paper arguing that quantum jumps were merely a mathematical fiction because no scientist had ever witnessed a single quantum jump in an isolated particle. Schrödinger's challenge stood until 1986, when experimental physicists utilized advanced laser trapping technology to isolate single mercury and barium ions in space. By bathing a single atom in laser light, scientists watched the atom fluoresce continuously, cycling 100 million times per second between energy levels. But when a secondary laser pushed the single electron into a third, highly stable energy state, the atom's light abruptly clicked off. Darkness. Seconds later, the electron returned, and the glow instantly reignited. Physicists were witnessing single quantum jumps occurring in real time. Yet the ultimate breakthrough occurred in 2019 at Yale University in a landmark experiment led by Dr. Michael Deveray and Dr. Zlatko Minev. Using superconducting artificial atoms in microwave cavities, the Yale team monitored quantum jumps with unprecedented precision, resolving the 100-year argument between Bohr and Schrödinger once and for all, and revealing 3 revolutionary truths. Jumps are continuous in deep time. The quantum jump is not an instantaneous miracle. It takes a brief, measurable window, a few microseconds, during which the system smoothly transitions through intermediate superposition states, proving Schrödinger was right about continuity. The precursor signal, the tell. Immediately before a quantum jump occurs, the system emits a distinct, predictable warning signal in its quantum state. A subtle telemetry, tell, proving the system is preparing to transition. Mid-flight reversal. By detecting this precursor signal in real time, the Yale team adjusted the cavity's microwave fields and caught a quantum jump mid-flight, reversing its trajectory and returning the particle to its ground state before it could collapse. The Yale experiment established the existence of 2 distinct transition regimes. The type 1 Schrödinger regime occurs under weak measurement/gentle coupling. When observation is light and unattached, the system transitions smoothly, predictably, and reversibly through superposition states. The type 2 Bohr/quantum Zeno regime occurs under strong measurement/rigid interrogation. When an observer fixates intensely on a system, the quantum Zeno effect freezes the system in place until extreme forces cause an abrupt, chaotic, irreversible jump. When you scale this quantum telemetry up to human consciousness, you realize a mind-bending truth. You do not have to spend years slowly, linearly struggling to become a new person. The healthy, prosperous, sovereign version of you already exists right now in superposition within the quantum information field. You simply have to learn how to detect your precursor, signals, drop rigid self-surveillance, and execute a quantum jump. The telemetry of timeline interception, 2 real-world examples. Throughout my life, long before I analyzed the mathematics of the Yale experiments, I experienced direct, undeniable telemetry of macroscopic quantum jumps, precursor signal detection, and timeline navigation. Example 1. The Orlando timeline interception. When my children were very young, around 5 to 10 years old, our family traveled to Orlando, Florida, for a multi-week vacation visiting Disney World. We had been spending considerable time exploring downtown Disney, becoming intimately familiar with its specific pedestrian paths, crosswalks, and parking infrastructure. One night in the middle of our trip, I awoke in my hotel bed drenched in a cold sweat, my heart pounding against my ribs. I had just experienced a vivid, terrifying dream. I saw my young son step out into the parking lot at downtown Disney and get violently struck by a moving vehicle. The visual and emotional clarity of the scene was overwhelming. Having been raised Catholic, my immediate instinct was to pray. But alongside prayer, I activated a fierce, unambiguous, present-tense intention. This is not happening. My children are completely safe, secure, and protected in this reality. I held that unshakable state of knowingness on the alpha-theta border, surrendered the fear completely, dropped my attachment, and went back to sleep. By morning, the dream had faded into the background of my waking mind. Later that afternoon, our family arrived at that exact same downtown Disney parking lot. I was walking several paces ahead of my family, crossing a lane in the parking area. Suddenly, without warning, my young daughter broke away from my wife and came sprinting across the asphalt directly behind me to catch up. In that exact microsecond, the physical environment snapped into flawless alignment with my dream. The exact lighting, the precise parking aisles, the spatial orientation. A vehicle came accelerating down the lane, driving directly toward my daughter on a collision course. Because I had picked up the precursor signal in my dream and executed an energetic timeline jump hours earlier, I did not freeze in panic. My consciousness was already operating on a protected lifeline. I reacted instantaneously, lunged directly into the path of the oncoming vehicle, raised my hands and brought the car to a screeching, immediate halt inches from my daughter, saving her life. The tragic wave function that my subconscious had sensed hours prior was intercepted, rewritten, and inverted in physical spacetime. Example 2. The Victoria quantum avoidance. Years later, when my children were older, our family was vacationing in Victoria, British Columbia. Once again, in the quiet hours of the night, I was jolted awake in a cold sweat from an intense, visceral dream. In the dream, I was driving our family van with my wife and children in the back seats. As I was making a turn out of a commercial parking lot onto a main road, an oncoming vehicle struck the rear quarter panel of our van at high speed, demolishing the vehicle and inflicting severe physical trauma on my family. Instantly, the memory of what had transpired years earlier in Orlando flooded my mind. I recognized the telemetry. This was not random mental noise. It was an uncollapsed, high-probability wave function vibrating in the quantum foam. Sitting in the dark hotel room, I executed the exact same protocol. I said my prayers, held a crystal-clear present tense command of absolute physical protection, dropped my level of importance to 0, and surrendered the outcome to the field. The following evening, I pulled our family van into a local Tim Hortons to pick up food. As I pulled out of the parking lot driveway to turn onto the main thoroughfare, the precise physical geometry of my dream materialized around me in real time. As I initiated the turn, a fast-moving vehicle appeared in my side peripheral vision, charging directly down the lane toward the rear of my van. The exact speed, spatial vector, and trajectory from my night vision. However, because I had shifted our coordinates in the alternative space, the outcome played out on a completely different branch of reality. The driver of the oncoming car instantly noticed my van, executed a clean, precise swerve around our rear bumper, and passed harmlessly down the road. For the second time in my life, an impending physical catastrophe was completely bypassed through conscious, precursor sensing, intention alignment, and quantum timeline jumping. The mechanics of executing a conscious quantum jump. These personal experiences demonstrate that you are not a helpless bystander locked on a single, fixed track of destiny. You are a biological quantum transceiver constantly interfacing with an uncollapsed multiverse. To systematically execute quantum jumps in your own daily existence, you must master 4 operational steps. Listen for the precursor signals. Transformation is always preceded by warning telemetry in your system. This telemetry can manifest as an alarming premonition, an unexplainable wave of deep internal restlessness, a sudden feeling that old corporate or personal routines feel completely hollow, or a visceral knowingness that a chapter has closed. Do not ignore these signals or suppress them with distractions. Recognize them as the system preparing to jump. Shift from strong measurement to weak measurement. If you obsess over a problem, panic over a bad dream, or hyper-monitor your current struggles, you execute strong measurement. This triggers the quantum Zeno effect, freezing the negative state in place until an external crisis forces a chaotic Type 2 jump. Instead, practice weak measurement, acknowledge the telemetry gently, set your present tense command of completion, and drop your importance to 0. Execute identity-level selection. Behavioral change is trying to climb the rungs of the ladder manually through physical friction. Quantum jumping occurs at the level of being. You do not try to become safe, wealthy, or healthy. You step into the absolute quiet knowingness on the alpha border that you are that reality right now. Allow space-time propagation. Physical matter has spatial density and temporal lag, the 6-month mirror. When you jump timelines internally, the physical matrix requires time to reconfigure its parts. Do not panic if the old scenery briefly appears. Remain transparent, hold your new observer frequency, and watch physical reality reorganize itself around your sovereign choice. Conclusion: turning the quantum code into your living reality. We have traveled a remarkable, profound distance together through the pages of this master manuscript. We began our journey at the intersection of hard engineering telemetry and the deep dimensions of human consciousness, exploring how the same foundational architecture that drives global digital networks actually dictates the precise fabric of physical reality. My goal has been to hand you a complete, practical engineering manual for your life, a master blueprint to help you pull up your historical anchors, step off the predictable tracks of your past, and consciously command your position within the universe. To ensure this architecture remains firmly installed in your daily awareness, here are the master takeaways from our 10 chapters. In Chapter 1, the physical world is not a solid, immovable object, but a fluid field of probabilities. Your conscious observation, your deep assumptions and focused intentions, is the instrument that collapses infinite potential into your physical reality. In Chapter 2, reality consists of infinite, parallel branching timelines. Unless you awaken and consciously choose your path, psychological inertia will keep you locked on autopilot, endlessly projecting your past straight into your future. In Chapter 3, the past is not fixed in concrete. Through the science of retrocausality, shifting your present observation of past regrets literally rewires your historical timeline, instantly dissolving its emotional weight. In Chapter 4, you cannot reprogram your mind through sheer waking force. You must downshift your brainwaves to the alpha-theta border, utilizing present tense visualization and heart-centered emotion to cleanly rewrite your subconscious code. In Chapter 5, physical reality has spatial density and a natural time delay. You must balance your intentions with calculated daily action and pure joy, holding your focus steady while the 6-month mirror reorganizes physical matter to match your new frequency. In Chapter 6, desperation and anxious micromanagement create excess potential that repels your goals. Like placing a takeout order, you must state your coherent intent and then step back, mastering the profound art of allowing. In Chapter 7, hidden childhood engrams act as viral software, quietly sabotaging your highest timelines. You must actively confront and neutralize these emotional triggers to release your subconscious emergency brake. In Chapter 8, scattered energy accomplishes nothing. True reality engineering demands absolute vibrational congruency, aligning your thoughts, words, and daily actions into a coherent laser focus through dedicated daily sovereignty protocols. In Chapter 9, empty space is a classical illusion. It is an intelligent, highly active substrate. Physical matter emerges directly from this quantum information field, responding continuously to the electromagnetic signature of your personal biofield. In Chapter 10, personal evolution does not require a slow, painful, linear grind. By reading the subtle precursor signals of your life and shifting your internal identity in the present moment, you can execute instantaneous quantum jumps directly into higher realities. You are not a victim of a fixed, clockwork universe, nor are you a passive bystander drifting through a random life. You are the ultimate observer. You are an intricate, magnificent component of an interconnected, intelligent quantum information field that is actively listening to the frequency of who you are. The code has been rewritten. The viral programs of your childhood have been deleted. The engine of your intent is fully aligned, and the fluid vacuum of space is waiting for your command. Wake up, step into a state of absolute coherence, hold fast to your unshakable knowingness, and master your reality. Thank you so much for walking this path with me. Your lifetime of wisdom begins right now. Take care.